Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Poddywood, the podcast where we talk about movies with the people who make movies. I am one of your co-hosts, Steve Hester, and with me, as always, coughing, and spluttering is...
At least I can get my words out. My
not
name
in the edit
is...
I'm putting together, you're not.
Oh, you edit? Jesus. Well, my name would be Andrew Roger Carson on any normal day. And today is a normal day. But it is December.
I know.
It's festive. It's not festive. It's pretty COVID rampant. So
yeah, but we had snow at the weekend.
Yeah, no, but I didn't like his music back then. Totally lost on any single person who was not awake in that 1 week in 1993 when Informer was everywhere.
I challenge anyone to tell me any of the lyrics of that song apart from Licky Bum Bum Down.
Yeah, it's funny that you remember that bit.
Everyone remembers that bit. No one remembers anything apart from the song. Everyone in school, we were just wandering around in clumps of me and my friends just going, Licky Bum Bum Down.
No, I seem to remember this is really going to push me back now. I think it's Informer. The police said they saw me stab someone down the lane, but I don't have any idea why he was licking his bum bum down.
I don't know either.
There's some kind of story in there that only Snow can tell us.
Yes. It's obviously some kind of patois that we're not familiar with.
But you know what? It's one of them days where it's been very long.
You're still not well, are you?
I'm not. This is ridiculous. It's 6 weeks. How can you have something for 6 weeks?
I don't know, but anyone that listens to this in the future is just going to think that your entire shtick is coughing and spluttering.
I don't know. See, season 2 has been nearly enough an entire wipeout for me so far. It sucks. It really sucks. It's like watching a Ricky Gervais movie. And speaking of Ricky Gervais movies, what's in the box last week landed on the 2008? Yes, 2008. Yes. Oh, see, stepped up a year. Mm-hmm. Comedy of Ghost Town?
You sounded really unsure about all of this.
Do you know what the worst thing was? when I was writing down some notes and that before, I kept writing Ghost World, and then only realised when I thought, okay, let me just check some information on that. I'm going, what the hell is it? Oh my god, it's the wrong movie. So all of my notes might have been wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
As soon as the show comes along, I am not accidentally going to say Ghost World, and then our listeners are going to tune in and saying that movie was absolutely awesome, and Ricky Gervais wasn't even in it. You poser!
Throughout the whole
movie,
don't
know shit.
All I could keep thinking was this place. It's coming like a ghost town. That's all I could think of. Was just the specials.
I honestly thought you were about to do the Challenges of the Unknown from Teen Titans Go.
No.
We are the challengers of the unknown. We have come to see the motion picture.
That was a really good film. Yes, we're getting way off topic here. So, yes, Ghost Town, Ricky Gervais. Now, I'm going to start this review off with one very, very important piece of information, which I think is important for going forward. I don't find Ricky Gervais funny.
I think we kind of got the gist of that last week, Steve, when we found out that Ghost Town was in the box.
I'm not also particularly fond of his kind of his shtick as a persona. We've been into this recently with Natasha Malte. Last week was saying about it. You've got your kind of on-screen persona, then you've got your public persona, and then you've got your private persona. So I don't know what he's actually like in private. He could be a really good guy, but whenever I see him on TV, I just think you're a bit of a gentleman sausage. I've got to be honest though, he was actually quite endurable in this. I enjoyed watching this, and I thought the character kind of suited him as an actor, as a performer. This kind of malcontent dentist who's just happy to lash out at life and just hate everybody in it, kind of like a little bit of a Scrooge kind of person, which is suitable as we're getting close to Christmas. and he goes in for a routine operation, and he has an accident with the anesthesia, dies for 7 minutes, and comes back and finds out he's able to talk to ghosts. Most notably, Greg Kinnear, who is trying to get him to sort out his now ex-wife's new relationship, because obviously he's passed on.
And the ex-wife is played by
Tia Leone, who we have had we have said some things about in the past, but even she was actually emoting in this one, and I think that's good. That sounds like such a backhanded compliment, but when
that's the most backhanded compliment. It's almost like it came from me.
Yeah, when we did that Ben Kingsley one, what was it? Just kill me, you kill me, whatever it was.
You kill me, yeah.
You kill me. Yeah, we were saying how she was very, very flat and almost neutral, and there was nothing in it. This is the exact opposite. This is actually a very, very, it's a very warm performance at times. There's a lot of humor in it. There's a lot of heart throughout the whole film, really, particularly in like the last half hour, where, spoiler territory, he tries to stop being a bit of a malcontent and starts to help these spirits that have been following him around. I enjoyed it. And for one of the few times, actually, I actually caught my girlfriend crying at the end of this movie instead of me. You know, I've lost count of the number of times, and I will hold my hands up here. Cry at the end of Titanic. I also cry at the end of Philadelphia as well.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one, though. I don't think I've ever met anyone who hasn't.
Oh, God, that movie. Oh, it just hits you right in the field. But yeah, there's a few noticeable little things that are worth talking about, really. You've got Billy Campbell, the Rocketeer himself, who's playing her new love interest, which was great because I was watching him on screen thinking, I know him from somewhere. And yeah, he's Cliff Seacourt. I love that film. And it's also written and directed by David Coep. I'm not sure how you pronounce his Coep. Coep?
Yeah.
I'm really not sure how you pronounce his name. So if you're listening to this, David, I do apologize. Who's also responsible for the screenwriting on movies such as, I think it was Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, Jurassic Park, Lost World.
Yes, he wrote Jurassic Park. He also wrote Spider-Man.
Yeah.
With Tobey Maguire. Didn't actually write it with Tobey Maguire. He actually wrote it himself, I believe.
That'd be fun. Coming down to the casting. Hey, Toby, write this with me. The movie's not written yet. All right.
Yeah. Just remember to press record.
Yes. Yeah. In case you don't know what that means, yeah, we just had a really, really fun and interesting discussion, and I didn't press record for the second half of it. So, yes, I look like a tit.
And not only that, you've missed all of my table falling apart.
Yes.
Everything.
Which was so funny.
Yeah. But it's still falling apart now, so.
Yeah. But I didn't mind the film. I thought it was pretty decent, really, in terms of being what it was.
Which was kind of an old style movie, but with an actual well-known atheist playing a guy who sees ghosts in a movie. Yes.
The irony is writ large.
And the laughs are not as large.
No.
It's not laugh out loud funny.
No.
It's fun.
It's chuckle, kind of. It's grin humour.
Yes.
Yes.
And I guess Gervais and Kinnear are the ones who ran away with it, really.
Yeah.
A lot of the other people are kind of one-dimensional, in my view.
Yeah. Kirsten Wiig was in it as well.
Oh, yes.
It's not as funny the third time round, is it?
No, I'm exhausted from it now.
Yes.
And in fact, I hate the movie now because we spoke about it twice before.
Oh, God.
So, you know what? I'm going to save everyone. You know, just go and watch it if you're interested in Ricky Gervais seeing dead people.
Yeah.
A movie with not as many laughs as it probably should have, written by the guy who wrote Jurassic Park and Spider-Man, starring a real-life atheist that is incredibly familiar to the Robert Downey Jr. movie Heart and Souls from 1993.
Which I've never heard of.
Yes. Did you enjoy it?
I did, actually, yeah.
Well, thanks for that. Let's get some anniversaries on the go.
We watch them again all of the time, or we get them on Prime for free. But we only know how old they are when we learn their anniversary.
How's you?
For fuck's sake.
Is it still falling apart?
Well, while the music was on, I'd try and actually put the front of the shelf back, the front of the drawer back on. And me and Jean fell out. Me and Jean fell out. I've got Shockwave looking at me, calling me an arsehole. Because I look like an arsehole. And bloody, there's a Pokemon card in here. My son's been in my drawer, which means he's probably fucked it up. And yeah, I've been trying to kind of fix it as we've been going along. And it's just making it worse. Now the actual shelf itself is pushing itself to the back of the unit. And it's like, if you try and pull us out, all of us is going to go. So anyway, anniversaries, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you believe, Steve?
Yeah.
Again, that 35 years ago this week, Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, was released.
Yes, I can.
Yeah. Was it because I told you earlier on?
Yeah, in a previous take.
Yes, in a previous take. Did you know that this was directed by Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy, who has played Spock?
You're thinking about the Laserdisc rock again, aren't you? Leonard Nimoy did an instructional video for Laserdisc where he was getting instructions on how to use one off a flashing rock that was beeping like R2-D2.
It's almost as funny second to it.
Oh, God.
I wonder if that rock had told him that this was easily going to be the most absurd plot of a Star Trek movie, other than going hunting for God.
Yeah.
They'd never go that far.
No. But having said that, though, this is the one which I think everybody likes, whether or not you're a Star Trek fan or you're just kind of like a casual viewer.
No, it's not.
It is.
Not at all. That'd be First Contact if any movie was.
Well, yeah, everyone loves First Contact, but that's more of a like Trek heavy kind of thing. This is a we're off to save the whales here. Och, me Jiminy. The nuclear vessels.
What? There is a very weird kind of blending there between Scotty and Chekhov.
Oh my. I'm tearing up. I'm tearing up. Oh dear. Oh, I'm going to have to edit out so much of this laughter.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hello.
Try to get over it, stop.
The worst thing of all is I can't actually do an impression of George Takei. I just can do an impression of the people that were doing an impression of him on Family Guy.
Right, let's let me go blow my nose, for God's sake.
Okay.
Don't press pause or anything.
I'm not pressing pause now. You back?
Where were we?
Oh, I don't know. Just give me some random facts about the film. Come on. We all know it's just like about a giant tub of Pringles that was coming to Earth to kidnap whales or whatever. I don't know.
One thing I always find it really weird about Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home, I think all of the cast may have thought, with the plot being this absurd, I guess they all just decided to wear red just so they could all be killed off.
With the exception of Leonard Nimoy, who was wearing white throughout the entire thing.
Well, he was the director, obviously. He was going to survive it.
Yeah, that's true.
But I'll tell you what, one of the interesting facts here is a lot of people tend to remember the punk on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually know that punk. His name is Kirk R. Thatcher.
Hi, Kirk.
Hi, Kirk. He's on my Facebook, so no doubt he's listening. But it's an interesting first name to have in a Star Trek movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he's also a director too, and he directed the movie that came out just this past Halloween called Muppets Haunted Mansion.
Ooh, I like the Muppets.
Yes, you'll enjoy it actually if you've not seen it yet.
No.
It's on Disney Plus. It's actually really funny. I enjoyed it.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check that out. We'll get the kids watching it.
And I'm going to have to check out Leonard Nimoy's talking to a big red rock.
It's not red. It's like this grey crystal that's just beeping at him. Right. Fascinating.
So,
a disc that
about laser discs.
Yeah.
What was the other thing he did?
It was a Y2k instructional video.
Was this about resetting your clock at the turn of millennium or something like that?
Yeah, it was. What was it called? It was called the Y2k Survival Guide, and it was all kind of like tips on how to survive Y2k, and how to stop your video recorder from suddenly gaining sentience and taking over the world, and all that kind of stuff. What to do if a 747 crashes into your lounge? That kind of
What's
thing.
the most rebellious thing a VCR could do? Not tape strictly when you've programmed it to.
Probably.
Spit your tape out at you and eat it. Blech. Used to do that anyway. Yeah, I guess you're kind of saying it is the most popular one, although Star Trek Generations I kind of enjoyed.
Yeah, with the exception of Kirk pinwheeling to his death holding onto that gantry.
Spinning around like he's on the Gravitron at Alton Towers.
Yeah. They made no bones about that being a dummy attached to a bit of metalwork, did they?
Oh, I'm surprised Tommy Hinckley wasn't at the bottom of that ravine.
He's probably still pissed off from his previous encounter. Yeah.
I reckon anytime you see William Shatner do a dive or a jump or anything, Tommy Hinckley's just there on the other end. Falls into him every single time.
We should do a supercut of just all the times that William Shatner's fallen over and just record in cut-ins of Tommy Hinckley just going, ow!
We should. Anyway, Star Trek 4 Voyage Home, 35 years old this week.
Okay.
Can you believe, Steve?
Oh, maybe. I don't know. We haven't recorded this bit before.
As long as we're recording it now, that's all I care about.
Yes.
25 years ago this week, Ted Demi's Beautiful Girls movie was released.
Not seen that one, so this particular conversation is not going to be as funny as the last one.
Oh, you never know. Ted Demi was a director, God rest his soul. He directed movies like Blow with Johnny Depp, the Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence comedy Life, where he played two inmates on a chain gang. He also did an amazing documentary called A Decade Under the Influence, talking all about the 70s movie movement from like Easy Rider through to all of Scorsese, Coppola and stuff like that. It's an amazing documentary.
Did he also direct Philadelphia?
If that was not Ted Demi, it was Jonathan Demme.
Oh, it was Jonathan Demme.
Was that Jonathan Demme?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's easy to get them confused. It's like the Levines, Ted Levine and Jerry Levine, the actors. One of them played Buffalo Bill in Silence of the Lambs.
Wasn't that also Jonathan Demme that directed Silence of the Lambs?
I believe it was Jonathan Demme who...
Oh, snap.
Ooh, 6 Degrees of Demi.
Yeah.
There you go.
More.
So it was actually the movie Beautiful Girls was kind of a biographical account of the writer, who was Scott Rosenberg, and it was based around probably what he calls one of his worst ever winters. He was a writer who was waiting to see if his script Con Air was actually going to go and get produced, which obviously it did. And he kind of wrote this in, I think it was 5 or 6 days. And he got an amazing cast for it. I mean, you've got people in there like Matt Dillon, Mina Savari, Lauren Holly, Natalie Portman, Rosie O'Donnell. He had a really great kind of 20-something role. Uma Thurman was in there as well. And it's a really funny story. It's really brilliantly written. Natalie Portman is great in it, and it's just a shame that in more recent years, Natalie Portman has labelled this movie as a movie that kind of made sexualization of her, as a minor, because she was playing a teenage girl in it. And I think that has had a little bit of a stain on this movie, but it is just an amazing story. It is a great film. It's worth checking out, and it is in the box as well.
Okay, well, they're talking about the sexualization of Padme. Probably does a far less job of sexualizing her than the original script of Leon did.
Mm.
Yeah, that's just all kinds of bad going on there.
It is weird. The more that, I guess, I hate to use the term woke because it's just one of those words. It gets well overused. But I think now it's more of an awareness, and you kind of look back on films like Leon. And I watched the international cut of it, the full uncut version of it, and it's the scenes where Natalie Portman's character kind of asks Leon to sleep with her or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
I don't know. How do you not kind of pick up on this back then? Nowadays, you're just kind of more aware of it, and I think that's the best thing that can kind of happen. I mean, there's a lot of films from back in the day where it was kind of creepy, and now it's like, ugh.
And now it's super creepy.
Yes, it's even more creepy. But anyway, not to take away from Beautiful Girls, it is an amazing movie, really well written and brilliantly acted by the ensemble cast that they have, and is worth checking out.
Okay.
But can you believe, Steve? Let's get a bit festive, shall we?
Oh.
Finally. 10 years ago this week, Arthur Christmas was released.
Which I haven't seen.
Ah, well, it's actually all right, actually. It's a movie you're only ever going to watch at Christmas, right? And it's done by Sony Animation, so it's like the fourth best animation studio in town, I guess you'd call it. But it was directed by two people. One who is Sarah Smith, who has just directed a movie that's just been released called Ron's Gone Wrong.
Oh yes, that's the robot, isn't it?
I guess so. I've not seen it myself, but it has been. It's one of my neighbours went to see it, and that's how I actually knew it existed. And Barry Cook was the other director, who was more known for directing the animated movie Mulan for Disney.
Right.
Which is an all-time classic.
Yes, I did see Mulan.
With this being a Sony animation film, there are so many references to other Sony animated movies in this that I picked up on when watching it again just recently. So in there, you've got a reference to Flushed Away, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
You've got a reference to The Wrong Trousers in there as well. And you've also got a reference to Open Season, which is... Yeah.
If I remember correctly, hasn't that actually got something to do with Aardman animation anyway?
I believe so, yes.
Right.
But, it's a kind of perfect movie for now, really. Kids are all looking for festive movies. You don't want to trudge through Hallmark and watch all of those guys in sweaters, getting the big city girl who's come back just to visit her family for Christmas and hates it.
Yeah, the guy wearing flannel.
Yes, that can be absolutely any Hallmark movie.
Pretty
you
much.
Just have to guess, point your finger at one, you've got it. The one thing I did like about Arthur Christmas, Bill Nighy is in it, and he plays Grand Santa, and he is easily the best thing in the entire film, which typically is Bill Nighy whenever he's in anything.
Are we talking about the British actor, Bill Nighy, or are we talking about Bill Nye, the science guy?
Not the science guy. Why would the science guy be in an Arthur Christmas movie?
I don't know. I'm not in charge of the casting.
No, it's the other one.
All right, okay.
The actor.
As long as I know.
Established British actor.
Yes, the one who talks like that. It's a bit twitchy. Are you afraid to get wet?
Oh, hello. But yes, Arthur Christmas is 10 years old. You can probably find it on all the streaming platforms if you're looking for a good Christmas movie to have with the kids.
Yeah, there's probably going to be lots of that this Christmas.
Yeah, I guarantee you, Arthur Christmas is going to be on terrestrial TV.
Oh, yeah.
Because I'm sure it has been for the last couple of years. I've seen it on terrestrial TV somewhere. It's like The Snowman. Every year you can guarantee it's going to be on Channel 4. Since its first ever year, it is still on every Christmas Eve.
Well, we've got to have our traditions, haven't we?
Oh, yeah, and I watch it every single year.
I usually forget that it's on, or I'm working and can't watch it.
Yeah, you can keep your Father Christmas, and that's Snowman and Snow Dog. We want the original, The Snowman. We want Walking in the Air. We want to have our Christmas completely shat all over by this really depressing story of a snowman he makes mates with and melts.
It's basically Frosty the Snowman, where you put the hat on him and everything. It's that, but British. So it's miserable.
Because we're British, we won't even let a ginger have a friend for one day.
No.
Before we melt him.
That's why, Mr. Weasley, we're giving you this pile of shite. Dumbledore gave it to... He was Welsh in that film. I don't know why I'm suddenly Scottish.
You're sinking into a lot of Scottish.
The thing is, Bill's going to listen to that and go, he wasn't fucking Scottish, he was Welsh in that movie. Mr. Potter. Sorry, I'm getting way off track.
Oh, God.
Do we have any more?
No, that's it. That's everything. That's all I have. I don't care anymore. I want to go. I know we've got an interview to do, but my God. Right. So, yeah, they're your anniversaries for this week. And I think it's time to bring our guest in. And he's got a bit of Star Trek trivia for us as well. Well, over the decades, there's always those lost movies of our childhoods that leave an imprint on us. And for myself personally, there was this one movie we had on VHS. I think I must have worn this movie out considerably. And it was a 1986 sci-fi action movie called Eliminators. Now, this movie was not a huge blockbuster. In fact, I'm not even sure if it got a theatrical release over in the UK. But I know it had a big-ass poster that I had on my wall until I was about 20 years old. And the movie kind of disappeared for decades and wasn't available until one night I caught it on the Sci-Fi Channel in the 2000s. And it's a Charles Band classic. Eliminators was a story of a female scientist, a river rat, a ninja, and a half-man, half-robot being called the Mandroid, who team up to battle the Mandroid's creator, who is a time-travelling madman scientist by the name of Abbott Reeves, who was played by Roy Dotrice. All of the Eliminators went on to have successful careers, but I always kind of wondered what happened to the Mandroid himself, because he was just awesome. The man behind the Man Machine is an actor by the name of Patrick Reynolds. And I always wondered about his career and all about the time spent on my favourite guilty pleasure movie of my youth. Now this year, I finally got to meet the man himself, and I couldn't wait to bring him onto this show to really discuss his acting career, his interesting life around acting, before and after, and all the way to his return to the screen today, decades later. So joining us today from California, Patrick Reynolds. Good morning, Patrick.
Well, good morning, Andrew. I'm glad to be on board with you.
It's a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome, darling.
Patrick, for one, obviously it's a huge thrill for you to be here. I think we've discussed a lot of the movie Eliminators in the talks we've had kind of leading up to recording this show. And naturally, we're going to cover it all again. But getting to know you, there's been some real eye-opening things that we're going to cover today. And some I've only just discovered while I was writing up the show. And I really wanted to start here. For starters, one fact I learned about you is that you're actually the son of an actress by the name Marianne O'Brien, which will be completely lost on Steve. But me being the huge golden age of cinema fan, I actually know her from the Delmar Daves romance movie, The Very Thought of You, that was actually shot in Pasadena in 1944. No, I'm not that old. I just know the movie.
Okay, fair enough.
Is it safe to say that you caught the artistic family gene from your mother?
I think that's true. And, she was a great beauty. Oh, my God. The woman would stop traffic when she walked across the street. Hopefully I got some of her looks, too. But anyway, she was amazing. So later when she got to, have a starring role in a Broadway play, a hit play called The Dough Girls, that got her a $500 a week contract with Warner Brothers. And, gosh, she got up to Hollywood and the studio wanted her to take acting lessons. And this is the moment of truth in her career, because she said, I've been in a Broadway show. I don't need acting lessons. And I think that really, was very self-destructive. It hurt her career. They sent her on they punished her by sending her down to San Diego's with a couple of other starlets. that were assigned to meet the troops. And on this boat, she was introduced to my father. Now, my father was R.J. Reynolds. He was the son of the founder of Reynolds Tobacco. She got down to the Del Coronado Hotel and met my father, and I think it was love at first sight. They started writing, corresponding, and he was romantic, and they proposed marriage in the mail with these love letters, and he sent her a few $100s in cash to ask her to go get pictures taken and send him her pictures. So she went to Bruno of Hollywood and got these glamour shots taken, and he had him up, next to his bunk on the ship, where he was in the Navy on the Pacific Theater during the war, and he had a real girl that he was writing love letters to, and all the other guys had like Betty Grable. So that's how. But for me, the moment of truth was we all get self-destructive. And I think that even when we made Eliminators, I had a big moment of opportunity, and which is when I'm sitting with one of the most powerful agencies in Hollywood with all the top brass, and I had gone in for a meeting to propose having them take me as a client to write a book about the R.J. Reynolds family. And I said to them, I want you to represent me and don't bring anybody else in. I just want you to look out for my interests. I didn't know how the business worked, even though I'd been in film school at USC and UCLA. I didn't know the business. And they said, excuse me, Mr. Reynolds, but this meeting is over. So I went back to my therapist and I told her what happened. She said to me, you're not ready to be successful. You are not ready for success. You should have said, where do I sign? And I said, well, why is this? And she said, when you're a baby, your mother says, Patrick, don't piss in the bed. Patrick, oh, my darling baby child, my son. So the baby gets the idea of success and home and comfort and love with feeling like a failure. Failure is home for most of us. And the point here is that I found a way to self-destruct. So when William Morris Agency got interested in representing my book, and they said, we want to sign you with one of our writers, and we'll have our the head of our TV people sell the book. I said, where do I sign? And I made a deal, and I did not self-destruct, and I haven't since.
So you've touched on a few things that we're going to be looking at later, but we have to start out on a note that you have mentioned, which does run the risk of pulling a lot of the discussion up front on topics that we want to discuss later. But as you said, your family was the extremely wealthy tobacco company R.J. Reynolds, which was founded by your grandfather. Obviously, we've got a lot of history that we're going to cover in regards to your family and everything that happened there a bit later on. But in the world of film, as you said, you went over to the University of California and to USC. Now, was filmmaking a passion for you, or did you feel like it was the natural kind of family direction because of your family's history in the business?
No, I was in middle school, like 7th grade, and I had a talent for performing and acting and singing, whatever. So at that particular private middle school in Connecticut, they produced Gilbert and Sullivan operettas every year. So even though I wasn't a senior in 8th grade, which means I was about 12 or 13, in 7th grade, the year before, they said, Patrick, we want you to perform the role of Coco in The Mikado. And I did. And I brought the house down. It was great fun. I was an egotistical, self-involved, narcissistic, Lord High Executioner. And I sang, I've got a little list, I've got a little list of society's offenders who might well be underground. I've got a little list. So that's a great song from the Mikado. And, next year they cast me as Sir Joseph in Pinafore. There I'm singing, I am the monarch of the seas, the ruler of the Queen's navy, whose praise Great Britain loudly chants, and so do my sisters and my cousins and my aunts, and so do my sisters and my cousins and my aunts, my sisters and my cousins whom I reckon up by dozens, and my aunts.
Oh, God, I hope this doesn't end up giving us a copyright strike.
I don't know what that's worth. But the point is, that's what started me acting. And when I got to college in Berkeley in, would you believe, 1967, the heart of the hippie movement, this, there I am getting off the train because I was afraid to fly for whatever reason. And I, within a few months, was growing my hair long and smoking pot and becoming a hippie. And my brother had given me an Arriflex camera. And in those days, an Arriflex, it was a $3,000 16 millimeter movie camera. And I had a teacher at Berkeley, an African-American man, very erudite, educated. He studied at Oxford, had a PhD, and he was a film critic, and he directed the San Francisco Film Festival. So Albert Johnson, who was a beloved professor at the school, became my mentor, and I traveled in Europe with him, and it was quite an adventure knowing the man. He said, Patrick, why don't you make a documentary of Berkeley? So in 1969, I went out with my Arriflex, and I made a documentary of People's Park and the building of the park and Berkeley before all the riots and so I had all of that in my film. Anyway, bottom line, I became a filmmaker. And that's why I wanted to go down to film school, because my brother, the short answer to this would have been, my brother gave me a fancy camera and I made a movie. Anyway, here we are.
Well, exactly. And in 1975, I believe it was, you kind of ventured into your first real acting gig after visiting your actress girlfriend on set. And you can tell us about this because it was an impressive start for a first gig.
Well, it was. I mean, one night with all my shoulder-length long hair, and it looked like I stepped out of a Botticelli painting at that time, and I was very muscular and buff. I'd been working out bodybuilding with Arnold and his friends down at Gold's Gym, and I walked into this club, and there was this girl, and I just started talking with her, and I didn't know who she was. And we started dating, and it turned out she was a rising actress in the stable of Robert Altman, the director. She was Shelly Duvall, who later starred in The Shining and Popeye. And Shelly and I just fell in love, and I had this wonderful 5-bedroom mansion up in the Hollywood Hills, right under the Hollywood sign. It had a paper moon that lit up at night on a 20-foot pole above the swimming pool. And it had a guest house and a view of beautiful Lake Hollywood below. You felt like you're in the country. We had 2 Great Danes, 5 guinea pigs, 2 ducks, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. No, there were 3 ducks. And guinea pigs, and I don't remember what else. Shelley loved animals, and she loved fairy tales. And we were just happy, and we got invited to the homes of, I don't know, Julie Christie and Jack Nicholson had us over a lot and for parties, and there Arnold would be. And I thought, he'll never make it as an actor. He's too big. But I knew him from Gold's. I was wrong.
Oh,
anyway,
very wrong.
But it was just a crazy time. And Shelley said, look, I'm making this movie, Nashville. I'm going to be gone for 3 months. Because Altman liked ensemble productions where everybody became like a family and they all stayed on the location and they just improvised some of the dialogue. I mean, Altman was a genius. Shelley, I said, Shelley, no, I'm not coming to Nashville. I'm not going to fit in. It's going to be a bunch of important movie stars. You have your work. Go do your work. And she kept calling me every day. Please come and visit me. Oh, please. So finally, I love the woman. And I just said, okay, I'm coming. I was like 25 years old. And she goes all around the set saying, my boyfriend's coming to Nashville. He's coming. He doesn't think he's going to fit in. And so be real nice to him, okay? So when I get there, Patrick, darling, how are you? Welcome. There's Julie Christie in front of me saying this, and Jeff Goldblum, and, I don't know, all the people, Lily Tomlin, all the people in the movie. And we went, Shelly and Julie were buddies. And so we went in Julie's trailer and just the three of us. And Julie pops her top off and she's walking around topless in front of me.
Jesus.
My eyes were like popping out of my head. I thought, that's Julie Christie. Her tits are hanging out. Oh my God. You know, and I, you know, but I just played it cool and, you know, you know, but it's a memory, you know. Anyway, Altman said, because I was going to go back home to LA, Altman said, well, Patrick, do you want to be in the movie? And I said, you know, sure. I mean, you want me in front of the camera? I'm really kind of a behind the camera guy. And again, I didn't like Altman's movies because everybody in the movie were flawed or victimized by their environment. And these are not the kind of heroic figures that Ayn Rand would advocate for, like Howard Roark and in The Fountainhead. So, but I've since had such a deep appreciation of Robert Altman's work. And he was right. People are victimized and they are, you know, either innately weak or corrupt. And, you know, there's a lot of flaws that people have. I've seen it in my friends and in myself. So I've come around to really have an appreciation of Altman's work. At the time, I did not. But I stuck around. Altman put me in the movie. It was like glorified extra work. I was sitting on the stage in the Grand Ole Opry sequence with long hair. And that was the extent of my role. But the movie made the cover of Time magazine. You know, Shelly invited me to audition for another movie she was in called Bernice Bobs Her Hair, which is a wonderful F. Scott Fitzgerald short story produced for public television. And it's a jewel of a film. It's on DVD, Bernice Bobs Her Hair. And it had all our little clique of friends from LA, Dennis Christopher, Gary Springer, and Veronica Cartwright. And we were all hanging out back in LA. And I played Draycott Deo. Even though I was a big, muscle-bound, hunky guy, they put me in a dark suit and made me a shy shooter, the son of a minister who said lines like, well, you mean there's a dance at the country club? Well, in my opinion, some of our generation are going to end up dancing themselves to death. Shelly goes, oh, no. And I said, oh, yes. So I was a real prude. And that role got me more roles. So in the Tony Randall show, I was a bald guy. I got the part when I auditioned for Tony Randall to take the character was named Bullethead. And he liked to go bowling. So I went in and I said, I'm going to read this character in a funny voice. And to this day, I've got a gift with doing voices. And I said, I read the lines like this. Hi, my name is Bullethead, and I like to go bowling. Bowling's fun. It's fun for the entire family. And I gave him a little New York accent. And I got the part. And Tony Randall said, does that guy really talk like that? And I said, no, I don't, Mr. Randall. Anyway.
Well, that is a hell of an impressive way to kick off your career, basically.
Well, I want to add, if I can, I want to add one tiny thing, which is that I took this to heart. I believe in, people that succeed get help. I enrolled with Lee Strasberg in his master class, studied with him personally, and he said, Patrick, you have a quality. He said, I want you to improvise Biff in Death of a Salesman. So I studied with Lee Strasberg, Peggy Fury, Charles Conrad, whose method was totally different, fantastic method of teaching. And we all know the method, so I'm not going to get into that. But Charles Conrad said, look, you memorize the dialogue with no choices. Hello, how are you? Fine. And in the moment, you look at the scene partner, the girl across from you, there's always boy, girl, very bland dialogue that could be interpreted any way. The only rule was get your attention off yourself. Forget about yourself. Just look at the other person and react. That's all. And so the dialogue, if the girl said, and the other rule was do not do the cliche, be interesting. So I would look at the girl, and if she said to me, hostile, hello, I would go, hello. Well, how are you? I'm fine. Are you new in town? Yeah, we just got here the other day. I mean, you would follow, the reaction to the other person. And do something interesting. So anyway, in acting, you take from this teacher, you take from that teacher, and even though every teacher says my way or the highway, you have to take a little bit from this one and a little from that one, and you put it together, and that becomes your craft and your technique.
That's very good advice for any actor, which is proof that you shouldn't put all your eggs in one basket. And speaking of which, you didn't, because around about this time you're also gaining quite a good reputation as a dancer. You were getting roles in the videos for Xanadu and in Hair. And what the ladies want to know, Patrick Swayze, were you and Patrick rival dancers on the floor?
Oh, that's funny. No, Patrick was a dancer. I don't think I was. That's, way over the top in my case. Patrick, however, was in my acting class. We had a class of about 14 actors. Patrick Swayze and Michelle Pfeiffer were in my class when I studied with Bill Sorrells under Milton Katselis's workshop in Hollywood. And we were friends. He's the dancer, not me. I got a bit part pushing a coat rack in Xanadu, and that led to a music video for Olivia Newton-John's Physical, basically on an exercise bicycle. So I wouldn't call myself an actor, a dancer rather, but I like dancing, and I'm improv. I'm good with improv, but good remembering the choreography is a problem. Patrick could do it. He was trained from childhood by his mother.
That's something that I can do. I cannot dance for the life of me. Oh, but okay. Can we cover the fact that some people say you were one of the Hare Krishnas in the airplane? Was that true?
Well, look, I can't stop you from covering that. But yeah, I mean, that was an audition I went on. I had long hair, but they remembered me as the bald guy in Tony Randall. So, how they cast in Hollywood, crazy stuff. There's a bald guy, he's a Hare Krishna. Get Patrick Reynolds for that. And I went in the audition, and I did not want to cut my hair because this was it wasn't like skull cap makeup every day. They were on a budget, and they wanted the actors who did the Hare Krishna roles to cut their hair. I had money, I had hair, and I didn't need this role. Looking back, it was a mistake. I should have let them shave my head and done the part. So instead, they put me basically in a tiny moment at the airport as the character is rushing through the airport and getting on the plane in the beginning. And that was my part. I took a punch, but I couldn't even take the punch. So they had some stuntman stand in, and I'm like a little extra in the background, this pretty guy with long hair and a Hare Krishna and a flower. I mean, if you blinked, you'd miss me in an airplane. But it's on my resume, and I get residuals.
Well, that's awesome. I wonder if David Zucker remembers.
We're going to have to ask David when he comes back on. But,
he will. He will remember that, I'm sure. Reynolds couldn't take the punch. Mm-hmm. I should have done the Hare Krishna role, I swear to God.
Well, now we're going to get to the real meat and potatoes section as we delve into Eliminators. Now, you had kind of taken a break from acting at this point. You were working, I believe, for an international bus company prior to returning with this role. Is that correct?
I was, yes, a bus company. Good God. Gosh. When I broke up with Shelly Duvall, I bought this gigantic house, 12,000 square feet. It was a major estate. And I, became friends with the children of, a particular billionaire, Adnan Khashoggi, who was an arms dealer and quite notorious. But the sons didn't know anything about that, and I became a buddy of theirs. But I've been partying around with the jet set, and because of Muhammad, who got me into all that, and it was a little window into my father's life. So I was quite enjoying myself. And even though I didn't have the kind of money that a Reynolds, might be given, I think just talking to me and listening to me, you can tell that I was not that spoiled as a kid, and came out of the inheritance part of it okay. But and when I became an actor, I had to prove myself and get out there because no family help is going to help you when the cameras are rolling. I got married to my first wife in 1983. So at the wedding, Dodi Fayed, who later he was a good friend of mine, who was the best man, Mohammed Khashoggi, and they were cousins. And Dodi piloted a helicopter in those days and arrived at my wedding with Mohammed. And along the way, they picked up Robin Williams and landed, who was making a movie in Germany. And of course, all these jets I showed. Robin gave a speech at the wedding that got everybody in stitches. And my aunt had a blonde bouffant hairdo. He insulted all the Germans, but without offending anybody. Everybody was laughing and carrying on. And he said that Patrick's aunt looks like an omelet. Well, that was Robin's gift. And my first wife, her father owned a bus company. It was a big bus company with 500 or 600 buses. And that summer, there were bombs going off all over Europe. And all the tourists stopped coming to Europe. They canceled their vacations. So my father-in-law, who owned the bus company, had this gigantic problem on his hands. He knew he'd have to pay the nut on all the buses through the winter. But this year there was no money coming in, and he began borrowing on the same collateral twice and 3 times. Same serial numbers, same buses. He got caught. He fled to Mexico and lost everything and had to hide out in Mexico with whatever he could escape with. My first wife and I, had to go deal with that. So that was a little thing that was going on while we were making Eliminators, and the bus company went under, and it was a multi-generational family business with 600 tour buses, and very sad. Why would you ask about a bus company? Anyway, go on. Anyway,
we're just trying to get some flavor to everything.
Well, you got the flavor. That is what happened. I don't think I've ever said that in an interview before, but
Oh, Andy does his research. Well, in the movie, you played the Mandroid. It's a robot made by a mad scientist with the aim of traveling back in time.
You sound like him.
Sorry, I had to do it like that. I'm sorry.
To the time of the Roman Empire, I might.
Yes, to the time of the Roman Empire. So that an evil scientist can go back in time and become the new Caesar. Now, how were you even approached for this project? And what were your initial thoughts after reading the script?
Well, I had gone to work for my father-in-law, and I toured European capitals with him, visited bus factories, and he was busy building up his credit with the banks, going around with the grandson of R.J. Reynolds, and that's how they do it in Germany. So I got very involved, and I had begun writing the book that I had finally made a publishing deal for, The Gilded Leaf, about the R.J. Reynolds family. So my agent called and said, do you want to go on one more audition? I know you're not acting anymore. You're in the bus business. And I said, sure. What's the part? She said, well, these people, it's a lead role in a feature, and they want you to play a robot. I said, excuse me, are they going to be able to see my face? And she said, well, they're going to see 3/4 of your face, but your upper right eye and that quarter of your head is going to be metal. And you play a character called Mandroid. And I said, sure, I'll go on the audition. So for once in my life, not caring about whether I got the part or not, I was relaxed. I said, I'd like to do the role, and I'd be good in it. Let me know. And that afternoon, the phone rang, and they cast me in the role. And the lesson for me was, looking back on previous auditions, I was too uptight and nervous and didn't have the self-esteem needed to put myself over in an audition.
Yeah, well, the Mandroid costume, I mean, it was pretty impressive for its time, including the scene where you remove your legs in order to attach yourself to a tank. Yeah, that really happens in the movie. I showed this movie to a friend of mine, not Steve. He actually watched it last night.
I did, actually.
You did. And so I showed a friend
I'm sorry.
School.
No, it's okay. I was watching it. I was looking at it going, this is insane and brilliant in equal measure.
That was pretty much the reviews that it got.
Yeah, well, I showed this film to a friend of mine in film school. As soon as he saw you come out attached to that tank, he just said, this is awesome. However, that thing was not exactly easy to drive, was it?
Well, it wasn't me driving it. It was a little Spanish guy who was about 4'2", and he was inside. And one night, as the tank goes over the wall and goes off into the darkness, in the shot they kept running in the tank, and it was pitch black. And I saw a truck with the back open. We're approaching it, and I knew that if we hit that truck, that my body would have been severed in half. And I said to him, "Stop! Stop!" And the guy didn't stop, but he kept going, and he couldn't see through the slits. It was pitch dark. I said, "Stop!" And finally he stopped. Otherwise I would have been dead. This is low budget filmmaking. We had fun though. And the shoot was hot. They had to hold an umbrella over me in the hot sun in Spain in July and August. But, we got the movie done, and I hit my marks. I knew my lines. I was professional, and got good reviews in my performance. But it was not an easy shoot to make. There was a little bit of distrust on the set. It wasn't. I would not call it the happiest set ever. And but in movies, even if you have a happy set and everyone's self-congratulating, I can see it when I watch movies. If people are congratulating each other, and I know that's a happy set, but this is a terrible movie. So sometimes unhappy sets give good movies.
The movie featured some pretty notable names in early roles, such as Denise Crosby, who later went on to be in Star Trek Next Generation, Andrew Prine from V, and future Tiger on the Beat star Conan Lee as the Eliminator team. Now, it sounds like this was the issues working with the rest of this talent, or was the issues working with the rest of the production?
I think it was a combination of things. It was Peter Manoogian's first movie, and he's a wonderful director. Whether he believed in me, I'm not sure, because I had this shadow over my head, grandson of R.J. Reynolds. And, but in the end, he did a really good job. I liked working with him, and it was also about believing in myself and other people believing in themselves. One actor wants to be more the star, and Peter said, "No, you're an ensemble." It wasn't me, by the way. So we were all, there was some competition on the set, little distrust. It's fine. It is what it is. And we made a decent movie in the end. And I would do it again, even though I fell off the back of the boat in a robot suit and sank to the bottom of the lake. Luckily, they had a cord attached to me, and they hauled me up before I could drown. These kind of things happen. And it was low budget filmmaking, but it was fun, thrilling, a nightmare, scary. All the above rolled into one.
Well, word is apparently Tim Thomason and Don the Dragon Wilson were original casting for Harry Fontana and Coogee. Have you ever heard of this, or do you know why they didn't end up being in the cast? Because they were kind of regulars on the Charles Band circuit.
I do not know. I did not know that. I think that they decided this was going to be the production of the heirs. Here we have the heir to Reynolds Tobacco. We've got Denise Crosby, who's an heir to Bing Crosby, her father. And that, I think, and Peter Manoogian was a first-time director. So this was the first-time group that they decided to try that. I think it was a good call. Peter made a damn good movie. His father was Haig Manoogian of the New York Film School, and he had quite a history preceding him in the business. So I think that they were just trying something different.
This production happened mainly in Spain. And what were some of the better memories of filming in that country in the mid-'80s?
Oh, my gosh. I'm trying to remember the name of that band that was out. Oh, God. Oh, well, there was a record out by a new band that we all listened to. And I remember the humor. Mac Allberg, the cinematographer, I think he passed away, sadly, but he was a great cinematographer, and he knew lighting, and he made the coolest lighting. As you watch the movie, it's so well lit. Peter was wonderful, not only with the actors, but with the storyboarding. I don't think anybody worked harder on Eliminators than Mac and Peter, and I really honor them for those long hours. At the beginning of the movie, Peter was a handsome young man in his late 30s, maybe. And by the end of the movie, he looked old and haggard. It's just what making this kind of movie, planning the storyboard and the next day's shoot late at night, up into the night. I mean, we actors, we got to go home, by dark or whatever. And maybe it was a 2-hour ride back to the hotel from the country. But we had it easy compared to Peter and Mac. So that's a happy memory for me. The lunches were an hour and a half. They required that in Europe, I think, on the set. That was always kind of fun. I hung pretty close with the hair and makeup people and sometimes the other actors, whatever. I remember one night we all went out to a discotheque in Madrid. And it was one of the few nights where we all did something together. And I asked this girl to dance, and she was really hot. And I was dancing with her up a storm. And then I noticed that the members of the film, the crew and everybody were laughing. And I thought, why are they laughing? So when I came back, they were all laughing and tittering. And finally somebody blurted out, "Patrick, did you know you were dancing with a man?" I said, "No." I said, "What? That was a man?" I said, "That was a man?" So that was a happy, crazy moment.
Anyway. Need some better lighting in that nightclub.
Well, it was dark. It was very dark and loud.
Well, in speaking of hanging out with the hair and makeup people, I mean, was it incredibly hot in that suit? And how long did it take you to hook up every day?
It was blisteringly hot. And I remember they would take my robot arm off of me, and then they would pour about a pint of sweat out of the arm, onto the ground. And they would hold an umbrella over my head sometimes. And sometimes we would get the master shot, so we had, I was in the full costume. And then they would go in for the 2-shot or the close-up. And I would say to Peter Manoogian, the director, I said, "Peter, can I take off my legs, please? Oh, please." And no, they might show up in the 2-shot. And so, but typically he would get human and he would say, "Nah, you can take them off." So Mac Alberg knew to come in a little closer so they didn't show that I didn't have my legs on. But then I would go in the trailer and lay next to the air conditioner, like on the floor, right up to where the cold air was coming, and try and blow it into my costume so I could cool down. This was a low budget filmmaking. There was no air conditioning to hook up to my robot suit.
Well, this movie also had, seems like we're talking about the cast and everything, this movie also had one of the all-time greats, Peter Schrum, who appeared in most of Charles Band's movies, such as Trancers and Arena, and I think most people will probably recognize him as the shotgun-wielding bar owner from Terminator 2. Now, was he a fun guy to hang out with?
Of course. I didn't have as much contact with him because he was not always in scenes that I was in. The escape from the compound in the beginning, but he was wonderful. It was really amazing casting. They found, exactly the right people for each role, I thought.
Well, it seemed like this could have been a franchise player for Charles Band. And you're the only Eliminator to get killed off, unless you kind of count that little spot robot, the little math robot. I'm sure I had something resembling that exact design, just not in camouflage as a kid. But was that? Sure, it's like the Attack track of its day.
That was the worst special effects I've ever seen. That spot robot. It was so hokey and badly done. But, that was what they were able to do. So
I'm pretty sure that was a classic fishing rod line that was just swinging it around.
In acting school, that like when Spot lands on my shoulder and I look around, I'm very convincing. I'm looking at this, I believe, robot. But they trained us that way. If you're in a reading, you just imagine the character that if the person you're reading with can't read, like in a casting director office, you just pretend that they can read and you react accordingly.
Yeah. Well, was there talk of this becoming a franchise? Were there any plans for a sequel with a kind of reassembled Mandroid?
I don't know. I mean, I think that the movie made its money back. It did modestly well. I don't think it made a fortune for Empire, and that's probably why they didn't do a sequel. they four-walled the production. They opened it in, I think, 1,000 or 1,200 movie theaters that they were paying the theater chains to have the movie there, and then they would get all the receipts from the box office. So it's called four-walling, and that's how they released it. They did it themselves. They did their own advertising. So from start to finish, it was a self-distributed movie by Empire.
Apparently, you've been aware of the growing cult nature and the following that this movie has, especially from 80s kids that are now grown up. Have there been any interesting fanboy approaches in regards to this?
Well, I mean, I've had a couple of emails from people who said, I saw this movie as a 12-year-old, and it made such an impression on me. You were such a hero to me. And I just love this movie. And, so many men have been fatherless or without a good role model as a boy that something rang in Eliminators. And maybe it was the pathos or the ethos that I had been abandoned by my father. And that wasn't in the movie. But somehow through the behavior of the man I was in the film, people could see that. And maybe they resonated with it. And maybe that's why some kids really resonated with the Mandroid. And I do get mail about that, even to this day, once in a while.
Well, in a movie, you worked alongside Denise Crosby, who obviously went on to become Tasha Yar in Star Trek The Next Generation. And there is the rumour out there that you were originally the choice for Captain Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek The Next Generation that went to Patrick Stewart. So we can finally clarify, is this true? And if so, what's the story around it?
Oh, well, it is true. And they kept calling me back for the part of Captain Jean-Luc Picard in Star Trek Next Generation. And I kept going back. And of course, that's the heartbreak of Hollywood and being in the business. Well, how many other people are still competing? Well, we're down to 3 actors. And Patrick, you're one of them. In film school, they taught me the first thing you do is you cast to ability. Patrick Stewart had a history and a great resume doing Shakespeare. I didn't have that. I had studied with all the best teachers, but I had not done professional performances of Shakespeare like Patrick Stewart had. So the role went to him. It's correct casting. If I was on the other side of the table as a producer, I would probably have picked Patrick Stewart too. So my whole life would have changed if they took a chance on me. And sometimes they do in Hollywood, but this time they did not. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, because there I am on the verge of either major stardom or a major boost in my career. I knew how to not be self-destructive by then, and I was ready for it. But it broke my heart. I remember, crying in the middle of the night in my big mansion that I was living in Bel Air, where movie stars would come to my parties. And I mean, I had a good life, but I was banging the walls, crying alone at night in this big house saying, what happened to my acting career? Why isn't it going better? And I went to see my therapist and told her, and I expected sympathy. And she looked at me and she said, you want to be an actor? She said, work harder, move your ass. She said, you get up at 10 in the morning, you give parties, you hang out with movie stars, you go to, fancy places and vacation. She said, work harder. And I said, screw you. She trained me to do that. She trained me to express my anger. And I said, you know what? You. But guess what? She just leaned back in her chair and watched me. And, I was never depressed after that. I started realizing I left angry, but the next day I realized she's right. I got to work harder. I started working harder. I stopped feeling sorry for myself. But the business has highs and lows. And I'm not even telling you the stars that I would see in her group therapy. There were people that were major stars. So the bottom line is the business can be heartbreaking. And it's a roller coaster of highs and lows. Almost getting Star Trek Next Generation was a major low and a blow when I didn't get it. And I recovered, but only with therapy.
It's great. It's great. Your therapist sounds like my ex-wife.
She was a genius. I mean, Irene, she wrote books like Go For It, Nice Girls Do. I mean, she was an author. The woman was a genius. She taught me all my Yiddish, and she just really helped me out. One time I came in depressed about my acting career, and I said, Irene, and I think, maybe she knew I wasn't serious, but I said it out loud. I said, Irene, so depressed. I even thought of suicide. So she looks at me and she said, "That's a fair choice." And I said, "What do you mean it's a fair choice? Screw you!" And it was the same thing. Oh my God! And so I'm so angry, and it was like 80 something, whatever, and this was before Eliminators, and I stayed the hour because I wanted my $150 worth. But I realized the world would go on without me. And again, after that day, that was the last time I've ever been depressed. I've had once in a while a little anxiety about this or that, speaking in front of an audience of 3,000 about tobacco. But, I have never been depressed since that day. That's a fair choice.
Well, speaking about your work as the anti-smoking activist, you started to wind down your acting career for a pursuit in activism. And this started by testifying to a congressional subcommittee against your family's legacy in the tobacco industry. Now, this was a dramatic shift in a career focus. So what was the story behind it? What made you want to do this?
Well, Eliminators had come out in 1,200 theaters, give or take, and it came and went. And we did not become stars. I did not get the part as Captain Picard. And I never liked the tobacco industry, even though but I never worked in it either. And I never had any real connection to it, hardly even knew my father. And he never worked in it. So there I am. And I had remarked to somebody that I thought tobacco taxes were so low because in Europe, and I was a smoker, by the way, so I would pay a lot more in Europe than I would in the US. And I thought, how come they're so low in this country? I did not know that politicians were taking huge campaign contributions from big tobacco to keep tobacco taxes low. But I gradually learned all of that. And 80% of them, by the way, went to Republicans, conservatives. So, and they were bidding, but Democrats in tobacco states were voting with them too. So bottom line, somebody said, Patrick Reynolds is a member of the Reynolds family. He's anti-smoking. So they invited me to testify before a congressional hearing. Now, I'll be honest, I enjoyed the limelight. I enjoyed, being center stage for a moment. I think it's partly why people become actors or get in the business. And I had lost my father to smoking, and not having a father in my life was one of the worst possible crosses that, I had to bear in my life. So when the opportunity came to speak out against the product that killed my father, I took it. And I went to Washington. I had been on a tour of the Capitol with a friend who invited me, but I just kept my mouth shut and listened. And then out of that, it got around Washington when I said tobacco taxes should be higher. They said, well, why don't we invite Patrick Reynolds to testify before the hearing chaired by Henry Waxman, the wonderful Democratic congressman, who wanted to look into banning tobacco advertising. And that led to my speaking out publicly and the headlines that came out of that. Tobacco industry grandson says no to big tobacco and so on. I didn't realize that the kind of spotlight that I would be cast in. And as I got besieged with requests for speaking engagements and to stand up in front of an audience, which I had a terror of because I had always had scripted lines to say, I, began working on smoking bans, partial smoking bans in restaurants, then 100% bans, then testified in Congress to get smoking off planes. So every time I worked on a political campaign, they got media trainers to train me and answering all the questions. So I learned the answers. I became more and more committed to the cause as I saw what the other side was doing, what Big Tobacco was doing with cartoon characters in their advertising, targeting children by their own admission and their internal documents. So, yeah, I was very much converted over to be anti-tobacco. And I took up the flag and waved that flag at dozens of press conferences and began speaking at colleges in order to make a living because I needed to earn money to live. And also, I did a lot of pro bono free talks for nonprofits. So anyway, that's a little bit of what happened there.
Well, in 1989, you published the powerful novel The Gilded Leaf, which is a chronicle of 3 generations of your family and the tobacco business run by them. Now, at this point in time, you're currently sourcing a production company or streaming outfit to make this into a powerful series. So give us your elevator pitch, Patrick. Tell us about the book and its prospects.
Well, if we had more time, I'd go into the history of how I came to write that book. But I will just say I did know my father very well, and that was part of it, to get to know him. And the Reynolds family story is so colorful, so powerful. It captures the zeitgeist of every decade of American and European life, from the Roaring Twenties to the Depression in the 30s to the 40s with my mother in Hollywood and so on. But one thing I've noticed is that every great successful TV series they have 2 things in common. They focus on a small central group of characters, and that it's over a very limited span of time. So you can't do 150 years and have a successful TV series, in my view. I didn't go to film school for nothing. To a lot of film festivals around the world. You really need to pick and choose what era to cover. So my vote going in would be cover 1918 to 1932. 1918, the patriarch who founded the tobacco company dies. And there is my father, 12 years old, and his younger brother and his 2 younger sisters going to inherit $28 million each in the middle of what would be the Depression. So by the 1920s, my father is a teenager. He is financing Broadway shows. That's the period I want to cover. And he's a rollicking, socialite guy from the South, but he is very connected socially. He was hanging out with Elsa Maxwell, and he was R.J. Reynolds. He was a major name. He had a yellow Rolls Royce. He drove it into the ocean, and the car was found, and the tabloids screamed, "Missing tobacco-ware." And he just, he was found at a chop suey parlor in St. Louis, and he told the reporter, "I just wanted to get away from the fast lane where money talks." His younger brother, Smith, was down in Winston-Salem, and he was getting it on with a local heiress, Anne Cannon, from the Cannon Linens family. And old man Cannon, her father, walked in on them, and he went back home and got a shotgun and came down and said, you two are going down to the justice of the peace, and you're getting married now." So local wags called it a cannon, not a shotgun wedding, and they got married. But she was pregnant, and before the baby was born, they were already in the divorce court. They were 2 spoiled brats. And he calls my father and he says, "Brother, I'm bored down here in North Carolina." And my father said, "Well, come up to New York." They go to a show starring Libby Holman. Libby Holman was a famous, sultry, bisexual torch singer. And, Smith had never been to a Broadway show, and he turned to my father and he said, "That's the most beautiful woman I've ever seen." He was a little bit of a hayseed, I guess. And so they go backstage. Smith is, at 18 years old, 19, smitten. And he wanted to take Libby to dinner and take her out, and she wouldn't have anything to do with him. Well, at one point, he keeps courting her and, following her around and whatever. And she's on the beach in the Hamptons with B. Lily and her friends. Smith's plane turns upside down, and thousands of rose petals flutter out and land on the picnic party at the beach. Well, that would be enough to turn any woman's head. he wanted to be the first pilot to circumnavigate the globe, and he had a plane, and I forget the name of the plane. It's in my book, but the Gilded Leaf.
Available now.
She met him in Hong Kong, right? So, but anyway, they became engaged. They got married, and now they're married. And the Smith is bored again, and she's got her gay Hollywood friends. She was bisexual, so she's got her gay buddies, male and female, down visiting her at this big estate in North Carolina, which she is now the mistress of. And Smith gets bored and drunk and didn't like the crowd, and he was shooting with his little pistol in the living room out the crystals of the chandelier. And one night, Smith and Libby were out on the sleeping porch, and they had a fight. And the guest was still filled with the Hollywood crowd, and she came out on the balcony covered in blood, and she said, "Oh my God, Smith has been shot."
Are we heading into spoiler territory here? Some people might
Not
want to
at
read
all.
this.
No, it's a famous story. A lot of people know the story, but I'll wrap it up. But bottom line, he died. She was indicted for murder. It was a major tabloid story, and all of this is the stuff of good television. And if you've got likable characters and a good story and I think you got a big winner here in terms of a television series. And it's a true story. That's the thing. It's so the characters lived their lives like they were going to be in a TV show or a novel. They always made the dramatic choice. Don't ask me why. I think they just like drama. But it does make good storytelling and good television. So, but anyways, Libby was indicted, and then in the trial, she announces she's pregnant. But anyway, it's just a rich American story. And moves on in the 40s. My father meets my mother in Hollywood, and they had a passionate romance. And I guess I came out of that, and along with my brother Mike. But all of that's another story for another day.
And it is all available in the book as well. Is it on Amazon?
Oh, it's on Amazon, sure. The Gilded Leaf. I like the first edition. It's got better paper, and I like the pictures in it a little better. They're almost the same. But the first edition can be had at Better World Books or Alibris.com. Amazon, the first editions are pretty well gone out of Amazon. But if you get the current edition, it's fine. And it's just not as pretty as the first edition, which I like better. But I'll get a royalty if you buy the current edition.
Well, there we go. It's all about the Benjamins.
Yeah. Well, Tom Shackman and I, my co-author, he and I are great friends. And he's continued to have a brilliant career. I mean, the Washington Post, the New York Times, all those major book reviews raved about the Gilded Leaf. So and I attribute that to Tom, I guess, and my family.
Well, today you're considered one of America's most influential advocates of a smoke-free America, and you were presented with the President's Lifetime Achievement Award by Mr. Barack Obama himself in 2015. Now, was this one of the highest honors of your life? Because I can't honestly think of anything being bigger.
No, it is the highest honor of my life. Of course, getting an Oscar would have been maybe a little higher. But no, you don't get higher than Barack Obama giving you a Lifetime Achievement Award. So I was thrilled about that. Thank you for mentioning it. But very humbling, too.
Well, away from the tobacco fight, you're also involved in seasonal efforts around Christmas time with beanelf.org. Now, this is something that's very special to you, so this is your chance. Let everybody know all about it.
Well, one year I was, a friend of mine said, he was really a friend of a friend. He said, "Why don't you come with me? I'm going to deliver gifts to needy children on Christmas Eve." I said, "Sure, I'll help you out. I'll go with you. Why not?" And we went house to house, and the little smiles on the little children as we delivered the gifts when they were home. And when they weren't, we came back later, made such an impression on me. And I thought, I never knew this. The U.S. Post Office is giving away letters to Santa Claus from kids who are asking for a warm blanket or new shoes and the public may go online to USPS operationsanta.com and get a letter that a child wrote or that a parent wrote. My kids are still too little to write, but I've had such a hard year. I've lost my job. I have illness, and I have not been able to work. So Santa, I've got 4 kids. Please, names, shoe sizes, clothing sizes, they're in the letters from the moms. But there's no real guide I saw the need first to create public awareness of this program. You can adopt a letter to Santa. And second, to give people a guide as to, tips for adopting letters. And third, to create awareness among those in need that they can indeed write to Santa Claus in this address at the North Pole. There's an address on Elf Road and in the website. So the website I put up with photos and so on really creates a great guide to the program for those who want to adopt letters and for those who are writing the letters. So beanelf.org is the site to go to learn more about this program. And with donations we get a lot of donations. We don't buy the gifts anymore. I'll go down to Target and buy a lot of Target gift cards, $100 gift cards, and we send them to the letters that we adopt from the Postal Service's website. So our donations go for that. And, we have a $10,000 a month grant from Google for free advertising. And Google's amazing. So that they do that. And they do it for my website, tobaccofree.org as well. But at Christmas time, people are thinking about beanelf.org.
Sorry, just to butt in and hijack it, I know that there's a number of other operations and organizations which are doing very similar things around Christmas. So if you can't take part in beanelf.org for whatever reason, then just have a look around your local community, because there will be people who will need your help, particularly around about Christmas time, which for some people is the hardest time of the year. So look into it.
So now we're coming full circle, as you are returning to your first love of acting following all of these career paths. So with so much success in everything that you've put in to your various careers, what's drawn you back to performance at this later stage of your career?
Well, it's something I've been trained in and something I'm good at, and I have the skills, and I would love to do more of it. I've been offered a part in a small production, and I'm going to take it, but not going to talk more about that. But I would love to do more acting. I'm a man of passions, like Senator Thompson. He could go and act in movies, and he could be a senator. Some part of me wants to run for office. I'm passionate about that as well. So what comes my way, I will carpe diem and say, where do I sign?
Well, you definitely are a man of many talents, and you wear a lot of hats. So we wish you the best of luck in everything. But the one thing we do want to know from you today is what your Nominate 5 is.
Now's the time to nominate 5.
Nominate 5?
Yes, nominate 5. Not 3 or 4 or 6 or 9. Now's the time to nominate 5.
I've really got to give a warning when that music's coming on.
Yes, you have to.
I love it.
You'd be surprised at the number of people that just go, Jesus, I wasn't expecting that.
Too many people had their volume turned up way too loud. Let's come on. So, Steve, educate our guest as to what Nominate 5 is.
Certainly, Andrew. Well, Nominate 5 is the part of the show where we get our guest, if we have one, to nominate 5 things. Now, the things are usually very, very personal to a particular guest. So it might be 5 of their favorite songs that have ever been used in a movie, or 5 of their favorite pieces of cinematography, whatever. And this week we have, for Patrick, to nominate the 5 most inspirational actors that you have worked with.
Wow. All right. Well, I'm going to start that one. That's easy. Shelly Duvall. Shelly. My old love. Good Lord. She is an inspiring a woman who did well with Robert Altman and became a star and gave us The Shining and Olive Oil and Popeye. Shelley inspires me. Julie Christie on the set of Nashville.
I bet.
Inspiration in a different way.
Of course, for more than that, she was an amazing woman. It's funny, the unconscious mind, where it takes us. Yeah, you're right. Okay, that might be an influence. What else? Jeff Goldblum as well. Jeff was really just going to be himself, and he was going to let the light shine of taking parts of himself and bringing those to his roles, which he has done over and over. And I admire Jeff Goldblum quite a lot.
You got two more.
I like a lot Andrew Prine, because Andrew's he played a cantankerous, nasty, self-serving guy in the Eliminators, and he brought such humanity to his parts. And I want to finally go with Keith Carradine, who was in Nashville as well. And Keith did some wonderful parts, and he's had such a great career as an actor. And Keith inspires me as well. So there's your 5.
No, a fantastic 5 great actors there. Andrew Prine, and he's still going today. I remember he was pretty big in the V series before Eliminators, and that's kind of what they knew. And in Eliminators, he was kind of playing, I guess you can call him, he's the Han Solo type. Would you agree on that, Steve?
Yeah, it's sort of like the cantankerous, self-obsessed swashbuckler who starts to learn more and care a bit more about people other than himself. Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yes, the simple-minded one out of the group who ends up saving the day by punching a keyboard. if that was the case, I would have saved my entire life for the amount of times I have hit my keyboard.
Oh dear.
But no, I like Andrew Prine. That's all I had on that. Sorry.
Okay, good. Right, well, in that case, Patrick, it has been an absolute joy to have you with us. There's so much stuff that we've gone over, and it has been such a pleasure to talk about someone who's just got such passion about these things. So thank you very much for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me, and love the work you're doing, and I see why you've got so many people in Hollywood listening to you, because this is in depth. I mean, these are stories that there's no time to tell these in most podcasts and shows and so on. So what you're doing is really giving people in Hollywood an insight into, for example, a method of acting, or what went on a set, and how to not be self-destructive. I mean, those are things that I think are a great message, and thank you for doing this show and what you're doing.
Thank you very much. And before you go, we want to run a little bit of promotion by you. So obviously, The Gilded Leaf is a book that you can buy, but it is also a project that you can buy. So all of you executives out there that are now looking for the next big series, mini-series, Martin Scorsese Irishman style movie that's 4 hours long.
Yeah, you want the new Boardwalk Empire, you've got it right here.
You've got it right here. And people should reach out to you, Patrick. Obviously, they can't get you through an agent because you currently don't have one at the moment. But how would people best get in touch with you? Would it be through Tobacco Free?
Well, they can certainly go to IMDb Pro, IMDb Professional, or you can just go to patrickreynolds.com. And I'm pretty sure my cell phone is on that page as the contact. So I bring it.
Yes. Serious offers only.
Yes.
Right.
And if you need a writer, I'll tackle it.
Really? Well, you have to read the book first.
I'm sure a copy of that book will come my way.
Plug.
That's so funny. I love it, and don't count on it. My real friends buy the book. My fake friends.
Oh, he's got you there.
Yeah, he's got me there. Maybe I'm in LA next year. I'll buy one. If you're really going to hold me over the coals like that.
Yeah.
So there's beanelf.org as well. And obviously, if there's any people in Hollywood, any actors or anything like that love the sound of this, check that out as well. Reach out to Patrick. I'm sure he'll tell you even more about it. And, oh my God, you've got so much to promote.
I know.
There's so much going on.
That doesn't even mention my political website, congressmajority.org, which is where I might take the rest of my life, because you have to follow your passion. And I'm passionate about electing Democrats, liberals to Congress, and telling them why. And we don't mention any candidate or PAC in that. We just say, vote Democrat. And here's why. Go to congressmajority.org and you'll see the ad.
Make sure you've got your tick in the box. And speaking of what's in the box...
What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box? What's in the box?
You absolute segue stealing swine. I was building up to do that segue, and you stole it from me. I hate your guts, Steve Hester.
You gotta be quicker than that.
I was hoping, please God, do not let him latch on to that segue. And you did.
You guys at least could have put Mandroid's line when he's looking at the car, and the guy says, "I'm made out of metal," and the guy says, "You need some body work," and I get out of the car, and I say, "Are you talking to me?" Like De Niro in Taxi Driver. And I get out of the car and I point my arm, which is a gun, and I blow up his car and I say, "You're the one who needs body work." I want to hear that. I want to hear that line in the podcast.
You're the one that needs body work. Yeah.
Yes, that's going on right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So, Steve, explain, as it's the last segment, explain what's in the box.
Okay, what's in the box is the part of the show where Andy tries to improve my movie education by getting me away from all of the big blockbusters that fill the landscape with nothing but explosions. So Andrew is going to put his hand into a box and then pull out the name of a film that is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. If I have seen it, then we keep pulling out names until we find one that I haven't seen, and then we go away and I watch it the night before we record the next show. So, Andrew, what have you got for us?
Well, funnily enough, this is the second Kubrick movie that you've got to watch.
Okay.
Which is 2001: A Space Odyssey, can you believe?
I've seen bits of it. Does it count?
No, it does not count if you've seen bits of it.
I know the ending.
So, watch the entire movie. My God, I don't know how you've managed to survive 40 plus years by only seeing parts of movies.
I've been waiting for them to be parodied in The Simpsons, all right.
Terrible. Well, that's your movie anyway. So,
all right,
listen, we're going to wrap this up. Patrick, thank you very much for taking the time to come on the show. We want to hear all about your success, what is going on from now on, and how everything kind of works out. Keep us in the loop.
Thank you. It's an honor to be on. I loved it.
Well, thank you very much.
It's been a real pleasure having you.
And I will catch up with you towards the time that this episode will be released, so you will know when it's coming out.
Yes.
I should be very pleased about that.
I'm sure you will, sir. Now, that seems to be it for this week. So, yet again, another thank you to our guest, Patrick Reynolds. And that is it from me.
And I guess that's it from me as well. Otherwise, I'll be here all alone.
Yes. Bye now.
Right, in 9 minutes, I've got another meeting starting. So, with a company that wants to sponsor BNL. So, yes. All right. Thank you so much. All the best, guys. Your timing is immaculate.